This is Gemara Nazir Daf Nun Hey, and we pick it up in the top of Nun Hey Amid Aleph, continuing the discussion that we left off the previous Daf, which is what is the status, or I shall say why, does Eretz Ha'amim Mitame, leaving Eretz Yisrael, coming here to Chutz La'aretz, makes one Tameh? Why? Is it a Gezeira Misham Avira or Misham Gusha? What does that mean? Let's remind ourselves, Misham Avira means the airspace itself gives off Tama. Or is it Misham Gusha, that it's touching the land is what gives off Tameh? And there's really a dual nafkamina, we could say, which we're about to see in a moment. But if you're in the airspace, you're floating, you're not touching the land. So if it's Avira, the airspace, you're Tameh. If not. Furthermore, why would there be a Gzeira Misham Gusha? Because of the concern that maybe there are Kvarim and whatnot on Eretz Ha'amim. So with that, we pick it up on the top line of Nun Hey Amid Aleph, in which the Gemara suggests is Leima Kitanai. Let's say that this Shaila, whether Eretz Ha'amim is Mitame Misham Avira or Misham Gusha, let's say that this is a Machlokes Tanoim. As the Gemara, like we just said, you enter in a box. You enter in a trunk or a closet. Basically, you're in a large box that generally contains and doesn't let one to become Tameh, and you're floating in Eretz Ha'amim. But again, if it's a Gzeira Misham, the airspace, well, any oil in the world won't help you because every inch of the air is Tameh. If it's Gusha, if it's touching the land, then you'd be Tahar. So Rebbe Mitameh v'Rosh Yehuda Mitayr. Rebbe says it's Tameh, and Rosh Yehuda says no. Suggests the Gemara 3 lines down, my love, that what is this machlekes Rebbe Savar Misham Avira? Rosh Yehuda Savar Misham Gusha. Seemingly, this machlekes is a machlekes Tanoim. Rebbe versus Rebbe Yehuda. Says the Gemara, no, that's not the reason. The Kuliyam, and by the way, just to remind ourselves, why do we get involved in this sugya? Because the Mishnah said that Eretz Ha'amim is one of these mid-levels, that there's Toma, the Nazir becomes Tameh, but it doesn't contradict his Naziris, etc. So answers the Gemara, 5 lines down, the Kuli Alma Misham Gusha. Really, I could explain, and again, just to give you the context, not the context, but the formulation of the Gemara, that when the Gemara says, let's say it's a machlekes Tanaim, the Gemara rebuts, it says, no, everyone. It doesn't mean everyone says. It means I could be madcha, I could push off, and I can logically tell you that this machlekes Rebbe and Rosh Yehuda is not like you thought, but rather as follows. So everyone could agree Misham Gusha. Everyone could agree that it's a gezeira because of the soil. So why would Rebbe say you're Tameh? There is if you just say no in the case you enter in a box. Mar Savar. So you know what the machlekes is. Rabbi Yehuda who says you're tar, it's because oil zarek shmei oil. It's because if a floating oil, does that have a din of an oil? Says Rabbi Yehuda, yes. It has the din of an oil. Since it has the din of an oil, you're in a box. It insulates you from the Tama, and therefore you're tar. Omar Savar and Rebbe holds no, lo yishmei oil, a floating box. And of course, tremendous ramifications in Tama v'Taira, airplanes and whatnot. Says Rebbe, no, lo yishmei oil. Doesn't have a status of an oil, and therefore, you're floating, it doesn't make a difference. It's as if you're walking on the ground, and therefore you are Tameh. Ve'atanya, ask the Gemara, is this true? 8 lines down. Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda says Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda, which we just explained held was tar. Why was it tar? Because oil zarek is yes an oil and therefore chills from Toma. Ask the Gemara. Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda Omer Tevish Malaya Kelim V'Zarka B'nei Ames Ba'ayel Tameya. That Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda held that if you have a box filled with kelim and it's thrown over a maze, it's tamei. But v'maisa munachas, it's tahira. So clearly Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda holds that oil zarek is loishmei oil. Because if it had the status of an oil, then what would the din be? It would be tahira if it's floating. So ask the Gemara. Clearly, Rav Yosef Rav Yehuda holds that oil zarek is the lav shmei oil, not like you just suggested. Answers the Gemara, you're right. Ella, a new way of explaining this machlekes Rebbe and Reis of Yehuda, and not to learn that they're arguing whether it is Tameya Misham Kusha or Tameya Misham Avira Eretz Amim, the Tama that permeates Chutz La'aretz. Ella Dekuliyam Misham Avira. So now we're going the other way. Really, everyone could hold that why is there Tama in Chutz La'aretz Misham Avira? A Gezeira that the whole airspace is Tamei. Oh, whoop, excuse me. That was not the place to highlight. Omar Savar, and explains the Gemara of Yis, Rav Yehuda Saira, why? Kivan de loy shchicha, like Azubei Rabbanan. Classical loy shchicha says of Yis, Rav Yehuda, it's not normal, definitely in the world before airplanes, to enter into Eretz Amim, to Chutz La'aretz, in a box, in a trunk. Therefore, the Gezeira of Avira, the Gezeira that the whole air is tummy, did not apply to that case. Umar Savar and Rebbe hold, no, you're right. Ask and not ask, excuse me. Ve'hatanya, and this Ve'hatanya is a right. And if you look at the Rivan, 10 lines from the white lines, so just like Rashi would do, the Misayeh Alei, this is a Raya. Ve'hatanya, Anichlas La'eretz Ha'amim, someone who enters into Chutz La'aretz B'shidei V'migdal, Tahar. So what do we see clearly? We see clearly that this proves, like we just said, that everyone agrees that really it's Tamei Misham Avira, but rather there's just going to be no Gezeira in this case. That's why there would be a difference between a Shida Teva Migdal and a Sfina and a Karain, a wagon, a boat, or a mass ship, that even though it's also in the air, but since that's more normal, it would be Tamei. So that's showing us that indeed the Machlekes is whether there's a Gezeira to Rabbanan or not. Ibayisema, says the Gemara, another way of learning this machlekes Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda. Ibayisema hacha shema yotzi reisha veruda l'sham pligi. That you know what the machlekes Rabbi Yehuda is. Are we worried that really everyone could agree fakert? Everyone could agree that the Gzeira is Mishum Gusha, that you touch the soil. So what's going on over here? Shema yotzi reisha veruda l'sham pligi. You know what the machlekes is? Are we concerned that he's going to stick his head, his majority of his body, out of the box? That's the machlokes. V'atanya, another raya. Rav Yisrael, Rav Yehuda, Omer, Nichlas, Eretz Am, Shidei, V'migdal, Tar, and Sheyotz the Sham Rosh, Oy, Rubai. So we see clearly that the concern is, are you going to stick out your head? Rav Yisrael holds your tar, because we're not concerned. If in practicality you do, then of course you're going to be Tamei. Rabbi holds your Tamei, causes this concern two different ways of potentially learning the machlekes, but saying that the machlekes is not whether it is actually Tamei Misham Avira or Misham Gusha. And now we quote the next part of the Mishnah, that again, in all these unique cases that the Nazir is Tamei, but does not contradict his Nazirus, said the Mishnah that he begins to count right away. He becomes Tamei, he starts counting right away. But the question now is, what about the time in between? What about the time that he is a Mitzaira? What about that time? Seemingly those times are not counted towards the Nazirus. So says the Gemara, 5 lines from the bottom, then Hey Amar Aleph, Amar Rav Chisda, Lo Shanu, Ela b'Nazirus Mu'atis. This did in the Mishnah, that we don't count these interim days, the days that the Mitzaira is waiting to become Ta'ira, or the days between he has to shave for his saras, the days you have to shave for your Nazir. Says Rav Chisda, that's only by Nazirus Mu'ates, which usually means a 30-day Nazirus. Avo b'Nazirus Meruba Misalek Nami Salkin Lei. By Nazirus Meruba, more than 30 days, the days at which he's waiting, the days that he has saras, are also counted. So it almost sounds like it's a technical issue. When it's a Nazirus Mu'ates, those days can't count. Why not? Let's remind ourselves. A Mitzaira shaves his body, and a Nazir also does. When a Nazir shaves his body, he can't shave a body that was just shaved. Why not? Because it's not called tiglachas. Tiglachas is only if there's a 30-day growth. So says Rav Chisda, by Nazirus Mu'ates, it's impossible. If the whole thing is 30 days, you're not going to count the days of Saras because you're not going to have 30 days. But in Nazirus Meruba, you would be able to. So Masiv Rav Shravya asks Rav Shravya 3 lines from the bottom. Maschil umoyne miyad. Says the Brisa, just like our Mishnah said, you begin and count again. Ve'ein mevatel ben asaykoymin, and it does not destroy, mevatel, nullify the previous days. So asks Rav Shravya from this Brisa, bimai, or I should say better, this is actually the words of our Mishnah, excuse me. These are actually a quote from our Mishnah. So the Rav Shravya says, but let's understand what's the case. B'mai, if it's talking about a small Nazir's 30 days, kabay gidal sar. Like we just explained, we have an issue. You need to have a growth of 30 days, so it certainly can't be the case of a 30-day Nazirus. Elalav, and as everyone sees, a very short Amid Beis, which will just basically be concluding the Shaila of Rav Shravya. And then tomorrow, we're going to pick up and continue the Sugya. Elalav. Rather, says Rav Shravya, what must the case in the Mishnah be? Benazirais miruba. But in this line of the Mishnah, on Amid Beis, what did the Mishnah say? V'katani maschel miyad. Meaning, you, Rav Chisda, just said that all din maschel miyad is when only Nazirus Mu'ates. As for Rav Shravya, it would seem from the Mishnah the exact opposite, that it's only by Nazirus Meruba. Because Nazirus Mu'ates you can't, because you don't have 30 days to reshave the body. Rav Shravya himself answered, but Nazirus Bas Chamishim Yoim. You know what the Mishnah is talking about? It can fit with Rav Chisda, it's 50 days Naziros. The Yosef Asrin, he already did 20, Visyalad Bei Saras, then he has Saras. Then, Megaleach Sarata, he can shave for Saras, or the Yosef Talsin Yaimim, din Nazir. They don't have his 30 days in Naziros, the Asli Gital Sar, therefore it could fit in the Mishnah. So we're coming out is that Nazir's Meruba, Nazir's Mu'ates, that when we shut that gap, and we say that it's only 50 days, then even Rav Chisda could agree that such a case would be included, and then it does fit with the words of the Mishnah. And we'll pick it up from Rabbi Bar Chama the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.